hero, traitor, or misguided dupe? That debate has raged ever since Edward Snowden leaked key details of the NSA's secret surveillance programs. Now the issue is whether Snowden is worthy of a presidential pardon. For one paper, that question is pitting the newsroom against the editorial page. Edward Snowden says he thought the NSA was doing something wrong. So the low-level contractor copied thousands of secret files and leaked them to the press.
He believed it was a matter of conscience.
Martin Gellman relied on Snowden's data trove to report extensively on NSA surveillance, which earned the Washington Post a Pulitzer Prize. But now the Post's editorial page says Gellman's source, Edward Snowden, should face federal prosecution, writing, "In the best tradition of civil disobedience, Snowden would come home and hash out all of this before a jury of his peers."
There's something going on inside the government that's really wrong, and I can't ignore it. I just want to get this data to the world.
And now Hollywood is weighing in with an Oliver Stone film that portrays Snowden as a courageous whistleblower.
Do you think Oliver Stone's movie has the power to change public opinion in the States?
The answer is I really don't know.
After the Washington Post editorialized against pardoning Snowden, NPR's David Folkenflik hinted that Post editor Marty Barron felt differently.
Marty Barron said to me that, if ever you needed evidence that news side decisions are made separately from editorial side decisions, here it is.
And the movie just might make the difference. When I was preparing for this piece, I went way back and listened to almost 3 years worth of interviews with Edward Snowden. And then I listened to a lot of editorials. There was a great one from Bob Schieffer, saying that he was a misguided dupe. But I was more impressed listening to him than I anticipated being, because I had kind of mixed feelings going in. And, no one ever knows whether somebody is genuinely altruistic, but it felt to me like his mission was genuine. And as a result, the NSA has changed some of its procedures about how it goes about collecting all of this data. A full presidential pardon, I don't know. But I think he should be allowed back into the United States without being prosecuted. I thought the editorial, while well written, was probably an overstep, because it's one thing not to pardon somebody. It's another thing to suggest that they should be prosecuted, which is really what the editorial was saying. And this on the heels of the news department getting a Pulitzer for essentially printing his stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things going on here. First of all, even though I disagree with the editorial, people have acted as though this is some sort of a betrayal on the part of the Washington Post without showing any understanding of the fact that the editorial page is a separate It's a separate department. It reports directly to the publisher, Fred Ryan, who reports directly to Jeff Bezos. Marty Barron is out of that loop entirely. Fred Hyatt, I'm sorry, yes. Well, Fred Ryan is the publisher. And that's the way it should be. And I think that even though I disagree with the editorial page, I think they showed notable independence. The other issue here, though, is that nobody understands that. Newspapers do not do a very good job of explaining themselves. Yeah. They just think this is the Washington Post turning against their own source.
That's because editorials have started showing up on front pages and accusing me. It's analysis, is an editorial,
No, that's right. Yeah. They're absolutely right.
I guess I find myself conflicted about this, and probably where I come down is less about did the media make a mistake. The media's made no mistake in this. I think I totally agree with what you're saying, Dan, and what Marty Barron said. This is an excellent example of that so-called wall there. But I think to me, the editorial itself was quite persuasive. I thought it was argued well, and particularly the line that was excerpted there about now the way this would typically be handled if he wanted to make the argument that ultimately the information that he made public against his oath, against the law, had a higher public value than bring it before a jury and then let the jury decide. And if the jury decides even against him in that case, then
Yeah, I mean,
you can argue for a pardon.
I mean, people were likening him to Rosa Parks. You know, what she did was illegal. She got out of the back of the bus, but you know, she stood her
Right.
ground and faced. You know,
Yeah, but there's also a way to handle that legally, and that's the whistleblower
Yeah,
statutes.
right.
He could have gone the whistleblower
He
route.
could have.
It probably would have been difficult. But I think ultimately, I thought the editorial argued persuasively. It made its case. I thought Glenn Greenwald's response
Yeah,
was
excellent.
also good.
I
but
agree.
Ultimately, I think it does come down to a jury of your peers.
I agree with that. I think that if I had one little thing, I think they should have, in the editorial saying he should not be pardoned, blah, 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 really acknowledge more that we have benefited
Yeah,
as an
exactly.
entire newspaper because of this.
They did do it. They
They
did.
did, but I think it needed to be, you know, they needed to say it just a little heavier. Look, we know, even though we're taking a different stand, even though these are two different departments, the editorial page is part of the paper. The paper gets some luster from winning a Pulitzer Prize, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with how they went about the reporting. So I think a little bit more on that maybe could have made more sense to me. I mean, the two positions are perfectly, that's where America is, frankly. Though I do think the part about not coming back and standing up after you've decided you're going to do that really resonates with a lot of people across the board, no matter whether you think him traitor or hero. So I think you saw two viewpoints. The newspaper maybe didn't stab itself in the foot, except that I think that they should have been a little bit more forthright on the editorial page about their benefiting.
I don't have a ton to add. I'm also conflicted on this. I said at the time I thought he did the country a service because it was important that we learn what our government was doing to us. On the other hand, he broke the law. And one thing I don't like is the idea that Oliver Stone or trendy conventional wisdom of the moment might dictate which laws are to be adhered to or not. Remember when the State Department under Condoleezza Rice, someone was caught leaking passport information? Was it about John Kerry? It had a political overtone. Should that person be able to claim self-righteous justification? I don't know.